What is iron-on vinyl anyway? Simply put, iron-on or HTV is a vinyl material that is applied by activating with heat. There are a bunch of different styles of iron-on and a ton of brands that make it. For the purpose of this video, we are using a white iron-on by the brand Thermoflex, which I got from heattransferwarehouse.com. Now, as far as applying it, Cricut has a heat guide that tells you what settings to use, and we'll come back to that. But you can usually find a guide that is brand specific in the product description, as well as cut settings that they have tested. So for the design, we'll create as usual, and go ahead and reply to the pinned comment if you want a detailed tutorial on this design, but I won't be going through that in this video. I mentioned in a previous video that I'm learning to make homemade breads, so I'm putting this design on an apron. The only change we'll make once we're ready to cut an iron-on design is to make sure the mirror option is turned on. This flips the design so that when applied, it will face right side up. Now, when we're placing the iron on the cutting mat, we need to make sure the shiny plastic backing, also known as a carrier sheet, is face down and touching the sticky part of the mat. Just remember, the machine needs to cut through the vinyl itself and not the plastic. Keep in mind that when using a new brand of vinyl or any other material, you should try to do a test cut and press if it's iron-on, which I'm doing here. And I use the recommended brand settings with this. Now, I like to keep the design on the mat when weeding, and my only suggestion here is to try not to touch the vinyl to avoid leaving behind any oils from your skin. We don't want anything preventing our design from sticking to our project. Now our design is prepped and ready to apply to the surface. I'll be using the recommended settings from the brand, but if you're using Cricut brand materials, this is the heat guide that I mentioned before, and you can use this to see what time and temperature to use with the Cricut heat press. You'll put in the type of HTV, the material you're applying it to, and the guide will tell you what settings to use with your heat press and give you step-by-step instructions to follow. Now, one last step before pressing the design is preparing the surface that you're going to apply it to. I have pre-washed my apron to get ahead of any shrinkage, and I like to crease the center of the material and design to help with placement. So just before placing the design down, we're going to press the apron to remove any residual moisture and use a lint roller to remove any tiny particles that may prevent the iron-on from sticking. Now I'm also using a Teflon sheet here, which is that brown material, as an extra layer between my press and design, but this is optional. I pressed this design for 15 seconds, then did one more quick press on the back and let it cool completely before removing the carrier sheet. I'd love for you to let me know in the comments what type of iron-on projects you're working on. Now it's time to make more bread. If you're ready for a more advanced iron-on project, check out this video next.